Hey guys, it's Jamie, bringing you recovery-inspired hope. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jamie Tall. And today I have my very good friend with me, Bryan Townsend, who is the lead pastor of Canvas Church. So Bryan and I met, what was it, 4 years ago? 4.5 years ago or something like that. When I was in very early recovery, I was at the time waitressing at Applebee's, and he came in with his wife and ended up giving me a card for his Celebrate Recovery program here, and just spoke some kind words to me, which I really needed at that time, being in early recovery. And Bryan and Canvas Church really supports recovery. So we just want to, I just want you to get to know him a little bit and how awesome he is, and how his ministry just always with no judgment and no stigma loves people in recovery.
Sure.
So Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Bryan Townsend. I am 35 years young, 36 next month. And I have a 4-year-old little girl named Eliana Rachel. And she's my girl. She's my lady. But I came to Christ when I was a young child. And my father and my grandfather have both struggled with alcoholism. I met my grandfather 2 times. He died when I was 7. No relationship with him. And my father, earlier in life, really struggled with alcoholism. And my father went to a church and had hair down to here and cigarettes in his back pocket, drugs in his car, and came to church, and a preacher told him that God would take him just as he was. And so as I've grown now, I mean, I've never known that lifestyle. Not that I'm better than anybody, it's just my story. And as I've grown older, I'm very compassionate towards people that are trying to fill that hole, that void inside of them with the wrong things. And because that's my family, that very well should have been me statistically. But it's just my heart to help others and not to judge them, because no one judged me when I was without Christ or without, and I'm no better than anyone else that has gone a different road than me. It's just the grace of God in my life. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, and we're so thankful for that the experiences that you've been through has put such a passion in your heart for people in recovery. And we really appreciate that. I know you have a huge recovery ministry at this church. And so how important do you think it is for people to speak out about their recovery?
Oh, it's adamant. It's there, and I'll speak from this perspective. And then I grew up in a preacher's home and have basically been around preaching and ministry most days of my entire life. And you always would hear preachers refuse to talk about their struggles or their vulnerabilities, or they would refuse to let people see the real them because they had to appear to be superhuman. Well, I've really saw that that's kind of phony, and I can't connect to that. Like when someone preaching opens themselves up to vulnerability, I'm drawn to that. I'm connected to that. And so people respond better to preachers or other people when they're real. And your story of sobriety, whether that's from any kind of unhealthy behavior, it's your story, and it's part of you and part of the journey. And we should all be very open about the things that we really have to wrestle to the ground. And we should be, I think the greatest, Honest Abe Lincoln said, honesty is the best policy.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
There's power and there's healing when we're open with ourselves and with one another.
Yes, I always say that when I lost my anonymity, my chains of guilt and shame were broken, and I was able to be empowered telling people my story. And, I started doing service work and sharing my story when I'd had about 89 days sober. I mean, you don't have to have years and years sober to help people see light.
No, not at all.
Yes. And now what I want to ask you is, we always say that spirituality is key to sobriety to recovery, what would you say to somebody who is struggling with the concept of God or a higher power?
Oh, that's a deep question.
Yeah.
That's a deep question. I would tend to say that God made us as intellectual creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And, you may feel like God did not create us and that's your prerogative to have your thoughts and feelings. But I would say we were not made dumb. We were made with brains, with intellectual, capacities. We were made with reason. We were made, and even if you don't believe that we were created, we have intellectual reason.
Right.
We have scientific methods. We have Sir Francis Bacon, shout out. We have a lot of information at our disposal. And I don't want to sound anti-intellectual by any stretch to say, well, God just is, deal with it, because that's not healthy or helpful. And I can just tell you my story, really. I mean, it's our stories that tell the greatest, this. And statistically, I should be, at this point in my life, I should be in alcoholism. I should be isolated from my family. I shouldn't be a father. I shouldn't be. I mean, I should not be a father, and Lord shouldn't be a pastor. With my family genes.
Right.
And I think the stories of folks are the greatest testimony. And
Absolutely.
I've been through a divorce. I've had 3 miscarriages. I've been through savage betrayals. But at every point along that journey, I have never left the Lord, not for long anyhow. I've left, sometimes for a day or two, but I've just been satisfied. I have been very pleased with that. And so if you're not a Christian or a believer, or you're struggling with spirituality, I'm not here to say you're stupid. And we may not hold the same viewpoint, but I respect how you feel. But I would ask all people everywhere to just have an open mind.
Right.
And maybe there is a God, and maybe there's something to that. And I hope that's not just a vague answer, but I feel like our stories and the stories of us that have walked through stuff and have found solace on the other side. It's just
absolutely. For me, my declaration of my faith, me sharing what God has done in my life. Has had people say to me, well, I would serve a God like that too if those awesome things happened to me, And so I definitely agree with you on it's our testimony. They say we're saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, right?
Right.
So definitely.
Are you preaching here or me?
I'm trying to be like you.
No, you're doing well. You're doing well.
So it's like the more that I say the reason that I've come this far, the reason that my life has gone the way it has gone is due to my faith in the God of my understanding, who I choose to call Jesus Christ.
Right.
So let me ask you, what would you say to somebody who is struggling with substance use disorder, who wants to come into recovery? What would you say to them?
I think that it's very overwhelming. I think we've all learned the lesson that you can't help somebody that doesn't want it.
Right.
You can't, as badly as we want to help everybody, we can't, force someone. You cannot force someone to do anything, but for the person that's wanting help or wanting to come into it, it is a very tall order to think, I am here. Here is sobriety, and this is a process that I don't even understand, let alone the hard work. And I would say that if you'll take, I think Dave Ramsey says this in Financial Peace University, if you'll take steps, you can go anywhere.
Yes.
If you'll take steps, you can go anywhere. And I'm always one to think, to take a huge project and say, let's break this up into bite-sized, and so if you're thinking about sobriety, and it's a struggle to you, I would think it would be easier to say I can't do 10 years sober this week, but I can do 1 week sobriety.
Yes.
I can't do 10 years or 5, but I can do 1 week. I can do 1 month. I can do, and I think that, everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere, and the beauty in achieving something great is diligence, and diligence is just the right thing repeatedly, and I think that as difficult as recovery may be, and I cannot say I've ever walked that path because I haven't. I think I can relate to other struggles, though, that I think that if you can wrap your mind around a day or two sober to begin with and build off that's better than being so depressed because there's such a long way to go.
Yes, absolutely. And we say, in our programs, we say 1 day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time, sometimes 1 minute at a time. So definitely, we have to take it as it comes, but it is possible. Recovery is possible. And we thank you so much for shining light and for loving the recovery community and people who want to come into recovery just as they are.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's so important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jamie.
So thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching Recovery Inspired Hope. Pastor Bryan Townsend over at Canvas Church. If you haven't been here, you need to come check it out. We had an amazing service on Sunday. It was so good. Bryan is the fire preacher.
Don't say fire and brimstone. You say fire, just not fire and brimstone.
They know what I mean. They know what I mean. Make sure you subscribe to Jamie Tall on YouTube, and we'll see you next time. Bye.